Good evening and welcome to episode number 32 of About the Cards podcast, live tonight on YouTube, as always, with host Stefan Loeffler at Junkwax Twins.
Howdy.
Ben Wilson at our Trading Cards. And I'm Tim Shepler at Big Shep 79. We are a podcast by collectors for collectors. And we hope to bring you a smart, insightful podcast tonight discussing trading card collecting. We're live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. on Pacific Standard Time here on YouTube. You can always follow us on Twitter at About the Cards. And we're available on iTunes and Stitcher if you want to catch us later. Just search About the Cards Pod and make sure you subscribe on YouTube and you get a little notification that we've gone live. And I know that Ben's offered up a Matt Olson autograph once we hit 500 if you see in the screenshot when you submit. Sorry, when you subscribe to the show. So outstanding. Guys, we have a great guest tonight again in Collector's Corner, but we have some breaking news that's come to us the last day or two. We've been putting this. We've had the Action News team working on this, and we put some stuff together. We've talked to a couple sources. So, yes. 2019 Top Series 1, the flagship, the big one, comes out next week. We're all excited. You know, it kind of starts the 2019 baseball collecting season, gets everybody hyped up about spring training and the new season, a chance that all of our teams, except for the Royals, have a chance to win the World Series this year. And we love to open it, and a lot of us build team sets, collect sets. There's guys that want master sets. And there's people that rely on this and breakers and that are looking to sell your, and then eBay sellers, all kinds of folks that open this stuff the first day and look to put these sets together and sell and player collectors. But we've heard that the gold parallels, the ones that are numbered out of the year, so 2019, we're going to be one per jumbo box this year. Not one per pack per jumbo in each jumbo box. We normally get 10. Like previous years, it's going to be one per jumbo box. And I haven't heard what it's going to be on the hobby boxes with the 36 packs. I would assume it's going to be in the neighborhood of one or two. I haven't seen the facts. But the big thing is the jumbos were used to be able to get 10, so you're able to build, team sets or complete master sets with them, and cases aren't going to happen. So Ben, give us a little background on this about previous years with the gold card, because I know that you get team set master sets of your A's every year, and what this is going to do for you.
Yeah, I don't have the pack odds from previous years, but it's really easy for somebody who opened multiple cases in volume to put together, a master gold set, or at least master team sets for those that were purchasing, pre-ordering. And because you did get one per pack, and then I guess it went one every other pack recently, 2016, 2017. As of update last year, I think it was one every 3 packs, which made it extremely hard to put together master team sets for, high-end high volume case breakers. This year, it looks like it's going to be one per box, and that's just not going to leave enough for people that are breaking in volume. Unfortunately, there have been a lot of people that pre-order because that's their lifeblood, and we've got Chris Torres here who can speak to a little bit of his personal experience here pretty quick. But what's going to end up happening is a lot of these people pre-orders on eBay are going to have to go back to their customers and issue refunds, whether it be partial or full, because they're just not going to be able to fulfill all of the orders due to pack odds. The issue that this creates is, this is flagship. This is their big release, Series 1. It's the dawning of the new 2019, 2020, 2021 baseball season, right? We're getting excited for the new season. It's not like we haven't had a product that released, Bowman's Best came out a month ago. So, but this is the dawning of the new year. This is the beginning. Let's get, the new year underway. And then all of a sudden you're going to have a lot of, as far as I understand, too, some of the inserts are also going to be really difficult to pull. The 1984s are going to be easy. The 150th anniversary might be easy, but beyond that,
Well, what concerns me on this? Okay, so when back 2-3 years ago, 2014, 15, there's one per box, or 10 per jumbo box, and you got like 4 or 5, I think, per hobby. Okay, now they're pulling that out, so it's say one per box for both. how much more of this are they now making, and how is that going to, not make this set as valuable as previous ones? Because now it tells you like, hey, there's a lot more of this out there. And are we going to get back to the 90s era of junk wax? When I think we've done a pretty good job in limiting really how much of this stuff there is.
So my question would be, a few years back, and I want to say it was like 2013, 2012, somewhere in there, Series 1 actually didn't have the gold parallels. They had to go back and update and re-release the cards that had the gold parallels for that year. They're obviously not going that route, but maybe they're trying to phase them out.
That'd be interesting, because I think that that's always a fun
our friend Dan over at Mojo. Dan at Mojo Break mentioned earlier today that he heard that this is the largest print run of Flagship ever, or at least possibly since the late 80s, early 90s. All the gold ones are still going to be numbered out of 2019. They're just going to be a little bit more difficult to pull.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about watering down, the singles, like the base rookie cards. Like, what does that do? So anyway, I mean, we can get a lot into that next week. We do have a great guest tonight, but it was something we want to bring to your attention as this comes out. I think it's going to affect dealers. It's going to affect stores. It's going to affect breakers. It's going to affect the guys that make sets and break cases and sell them online. So it's very, very interesting to see what's going to happen with that. But we'll move to Collector's Corner. We have Chris Torres on tonight. Chris is an eBay top-rated seller of baseball cards. You can always find him on Twitter at CRT_sportscards. You also can check him out at crtsportscards.com or on eBay, CRT Sports Cards. It keeps it real easy. We put all this in the link of the YouTube page, and that will also be in the show notes on iTunes and Stitcher to check out. But welcome, Chris. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
I just want to know real quick, what got you into collecting?
Wow, what got me into collecting? That's a tough question. I remember going to my first card show when I was about 9 or 10, and I ended up buying 91 Topps. That was the first that I ever bought. I ended up leaving the card show and then going home, getting my money, meeting the dealer at a basketball game, and then buying that set. And I lived in El Paso, so we were the home of the Diablos, which was the AA team of the Brewers back then. And my uncle worked for them at the time. So the summer times, I was always at the ballpark. My birthday's in July. My birthdays were always spent at the game. My name was on the scoreboard, stuff like that. So baseball for me has almost always been in my life, one way or the other, whether it be going to games or collecting as a young kid.
Outstanding. That's cool. I remember when I was in high school, I bought a minor league Diablos hat and wore it around school just because it was so unique. And everybody always asked me, like, well, who is that? I was like, oh, it's the El Paso Diablos. Don't worry about it. It's just neat. It was red and had flames, and it had a sweet logo back in the late 90s. So who do you collect? What do you collect for your personal collection?
So I'm very specific on what I collect. So there's two things I collect for the Seattle Mariners are the Independence Day parallels and then the Ginter X red and silver minis. Nice. I try to stay away from amassing thousands of Mariner cards. I like to keep it very focused, and that way I can just do single searches every day on eBay or look on Twitter or whatever for certain cards. But I just keep it very focused on really Flagship of that parallel and then the Ginter X.
So you don't have issues like the other three of us on the show right now?
No, I'm not cataloging thousands of cards every week, and I find that'd be very difficult for me to maintain it with everything else going on.
So I'm gonna Ben take this over because Ben came up with some really good questions. Tonight.
And just real quick for reference, in Series 1, the golds were 1 in 18 last year on Hobby, and then 1 in 4 on Jumbo.
Yeah, I knew they was limited. So it's frustrating, man. It's just kind of a little disappointing, and then it just tells you how much more is going to be out there. So
I hope I don't get blocked by Ben after this meeting.
Yeah.
3,
are you there, Ben?
All right.
Ben's on a 10-second delay, guys.
I don't know what's going on with my internet tonight, guys, so I do apologize. I'm trying to actually open up the show notes. I didn't know I was going to be on the spot. So
I got you, Ben. So Chris, when did you start opening and cases and selling on eBay and getting really into that?
I would say probably 3 years ago. I was in the hobby through the early, I would say 2009, 2010. I was a football collector back then. I collected a certain player from the Raiders because he went to UTEP where I played golf at in college. And then I moved, I got out of the hobby, and I got back in around 2015. And then I got hooked on 2014 Bowman Draft. And I started opening up cases of that, sort of learning, you know, when to sell player lots, when to sell autographs, who to hold, and things like that. And then over the past couple of years, as I figured out, you know, I can make some money at this. I can also fund my hobby at the same time. You know, how do I become more disciplined? How do I look at the numbers? How to look at the pack odds, and then work backwards that way. So, but it's been about probably the past 2 to 3 years that I've really been aggressively selling on eBay and opening cases.
So what do you normally open, and how much do you normally decide you're going to open of product?
So last year, I mainly focus on high base card count sets to where there's more cards per pack. I really stay away from the one pack boxes, or the high end stuff. I think there's too much variance there. I want more cards. I want less variance. I want more hits, more base parallels and things like that. So, flagship is my sort of bread and butter. Ginter, I love Bowman, anything Bowman really for the most part. I did stay away from draft this year because draft was so expensive. It was 50% more than last year. I just didn't feel that it was worth that much of a premium just because the class was a little bit different. But really I focus on anything with a lot of base cards where I can put sets together and then find other parallels.
Nice. Now, how much time do you invest in opening, sorting, and shipping everything?
So, like for upcoming on Series 1, I have 8 hobby cases coming in. So I was looking at sort of breaking it out by what it takes me to open a case, then the list, sort, ship. I think it's probably going to take me probably under 40 hours over, the next week, probably to knock out all this, or not the next week, but over the next month to sort all the base sets, get everything listed, get everything shipped out, things like that.
Outstanding. Yeah, if I tried to do something like that, my wife would throw me out of the house. But I've always wanted to do buy at least a couple cases of one product and just dabble in and see what it was like. But
yeah.
What's up, Ben? Go ahead.
I'll be coming to you for gold cards this year because obviously what we just discussed.
Yeah.
Now, as far as you're not keeping anything outside of the Independence Day cards for your personal collection from Flagship?
Yeah, I don't keep anything. I don't try to. I don't want to mess with my own supply. I'll buy the cards secondarily, do it through my own funds, and then I'll sell everything on the eBay side of things. Now, if I do hit an Independence Day parallel, I will definitely keep that. But everything else, even if it's a Seattle Mariner autograph, I still will sell it.
So you take Biggie's advice. You don't get high on your own supply.
Exactly. You can, that's the worst move possible. I've watched enough drug movies to know that you can't dip into your own supply.
So Topps showed that sweet Ichiro. You pull that sweet ass Ichiro, you're not keeping it.
No, I'm selling it immediately because I don't collect Ichiro, and I'm not a Mariners collector. I'm a collector of Independence Day parallels and Ginter X. So to me, finding that. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. If that were me and I pulled a sweet Oakland A's card, I don't care if the economist in me says, yeah, you've got to sell it because you have to break even. You've got to have your profit margins where they need to be to make it successful. The A's collector in me says, I don't give a shit what you do. You're keeping that card.
Right.
Yeah. But the thing is, for me is someone else out there is going to enjoy that card way more than I ever will. So yes, I'm going to sell it for a pretty penny. That was a great looking card. But ideally, I want to get it in the hands of somebody who's going to really cherish it and enjoy it. And myself, it'll be in a box, and I might never look at it again. I've tried collecting other autographs or other Mariner cards, and I just was like, they're just sitting in a box, and I just don't want them. So I would definitely sell it.
So you said you grew up in El Paso, Texas. How'd you become a Mariners fan?
So by moving to Seattle, really. So growing up in the 90s, I had a really close connection to the Braves because one of Ted Turner's last ranches he bought in New Mexico was my dad's last ranch as a kid growing up. So it was a connection to the Braves as a kid. And then I moved to Atlanta and I moved to the South for about 6-7 years. But then I moved to Seattle 7 years ago in about 2 weeks. And then I just became a Mariners fan living up here.
Nice.
But as a kid, though, I was playing what's the baseball game on Super Nintendo, what King Griffey's Baseball or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that was always. I think I was always sort of partially a Mariners fan somehow, and then I somehow ended up here when I was about 25 or not about 30.
Funny story about that is I chosen the Mariners because I think that's what you were supposed to do with that game, and I played about 110 games. My friend comes over, and you could do exhibition or season, but if you did season, it overwrote the season file.
Okay.
And I had spent so much time playing it. He comes over. I said, "What mode did you put?" He goes, "Season." I'm like, "Son of a gun! You just erased months of hard work." And he goes, "I'm sorry." I'm like, "No, there's no. I'm sorry. Get the hell out of my house."
Yeah. Leave exactly.
Yeah.
I think it was actually a couple of years living here before I even went to a Mariners game. I never went to them, and then slowly I got back into the hobby, going to more games, and so now I'm pretty much all in now with the Mariners.
Well, you should have picked the A's. I mean, that's good.
So, when you say Mariners games, you mean A's games played against the Mariners at Safeco?
No, I try to avoid those games.
Son of a gun. Okay, so moving on. My dad and I actually had an interesting conversation, and it's come up on Facebook quite a bit lately because of the fact that eBay is gearing away from PayPal and moving to managed payments.
Yep.
And my dad asked how it would be for a seller. How do you get your money? And I said, I don't know. And then my dad's like, well, how is it? And I said, listen to the podcast this week, and I'll ask it for somebody that has a good grasp of it because he's done it. I don't sell on eBay, so it doesn't do me any good to go have that information. So what is the difference between managed payments and PayPal, and how does it benefit both buyer and seller, if you can explain that?
So the benefit from the seller perspective for me is it's a lower fee. So PayPal takes 2.9% plus 30 cents of every transaction. eBay payments is only 2.7%, and there's no extra fee per transaction. So when you're selling low dollar cards, when you're going through a flagship series or what I really specialize in, which is lower, higher base card sets, more cards, that 30 cents adds up, quite quickly over the course of 2 or 3 months. Now, the way you get paid is eBay sends you a daily deposit to your account. So it took me setting up a separate account with my bank so I could make sure I can keep those payments separate. It was just too difficult to manage everything at once. So that's a little bit trickier. You don't get to keep your money in a pool as a seller, so it gets sent to you every day. The only downside is, which is different than PayPal, is when you get on eBay managed payments, they bill you their fee. So at the end of the month, you have to pay your selling fees plus your payment fees. Right. Now, the good thing for sellers from a return perspective, when you talk about some of the shadiness out there, I know it's not prevalent, but it's out there, is with eBay and in PayPal, there's 2 different return systems right now. So if a buyer doesn't like the eBay ruling, they can go to PayPal. This way, if they're only on eBay payments, if eBay says no, that's it. There's no going to PayPal.
And how does it benefit like a buyer? So someone that's actively buying, how's it going to change for them with eBay payments versus being able to use their PayPal account?
The only thing I can think of is when you go to any other website in really the world, you pay the website. eBay is really the only website that you don't pay the website. You go to another website to pay. So I think, yes, they've been synonymous for so many years. They were used to it, but you don't go to Amazon to then go to another website to pay. You can, there's an option for it, but their main payment system is that way.
Nice. Yeah. So not a tons changes. It's just going to really help sellers on that as far as the overall, cost of doing business on there, as well as kind of limit some of the backdoor returns and something like the scamming, like, hey, it never got delivered. eBay says no, but I'm going to go to PayPal because they're going to give me my money back and your SOL. So,
but a couple of things too, like for me living in Washington State, I'm one of the first states that now charges sales tax on all my transactions. eBay is taking care of that all for me. So I'm not having to collect sales tax or remit sales tax. So that's a good benefit of the eBay managed payment system, is they're taking care of all that. And as more states go onto that as a seller, even if it's only $10-$20 that you owe the state, eBay's taking care of that now for you through the system.
Nice.
Yeah.
So In your opinion, what is the current state of the hobby of our lovely hobby we have here in collecting cards?
That's a deep question. That's, I think it's changing because you've got the sales tax changing. It's always been an avenue for us to sort of get around in a sense. And with the shipping changes right now, there's a bunch of changes happening in about 5 to 6 days with the Postal Service. So I think it's changing. I think for anyone to be a successful seller right now, you have to look at the numbers. You have to do the research. It's no longer about just listing cards, sending them out, and going on with your day. There's so many more intricacies of it. So it's just going to take a little more research, every single day to make sure you're doing the right thing for your business, or just trying to make a couple dollars here and there.
What lies ahead for you in the hobby? How long do you imagine yourself continuing to do the breaking cases and providing those cards and sets online?
I think I'll go as far as I can. I mean, I keep opening more every year. I keep going deeper onto sets, and so there's going to be a break-even point to where I don't have enough time with my job to do it. So I don't think I'm there yet, but I'm going to keep going or until I lose all my money. All this money I spend on this really is, it's hobby income. So if all of a sudden, Series 1 next week is a complete, disaster, I lose all my money, well, then I'm probably out then. But it's not going to happen. But I think I'll just keep going until I can't go farther.
Nice. And I had a follow up with them. My brain stopped working, so we'll come back. But if you could only own one card, what card would you own? If you could only own one baseball card or one football card, anything like that, what would that card be?
The 2018 Top Series 1 Iwakuma Independence Day Parallel. I can't find it.
Doesn't exist.
The only one I'm missing from the entire from Series 1, Series 2, and Update. I can't find it.
That's crazy.
And I'm not a really big vintage guy or anything like that, so I don't really have a legacy of that. I've sort of gone back to picking up some late 70s Mariner cards, some early 80 PSA cards, but right now the only card I really want to own is the Iwakuma because I cannot find it.
That's crazy. That what we talked about that, like trying to put rainbows together, not finding certain ones, like weird ones like numbered out of 50 or 75 you think would come up more often, but they don't. You never see them, and ones out of 5 are pop. You've seen 3 of the 5 pop up, and you've never seen them 1 out of 50 or 1 out of 75. To me, it's frustrating. And then also too, like we were still looking for the wood parallels from Allen and Ginter last year. Hey, where are they? The search party's out there looking for you. So
I still say they're in like 2 cases because Ginter had such bad pack out issues. I was getting in my cases, mini parallels that should have been 1 a case. I was getting 20 or 30. I can almost bet you they're sitting in 2 or 3 cases. Someone's going to find them, but it's not worth the $1,000 gamble right now to go find them. But they're probably out there. But it's going to be someone's lucky day when they find them.
Oh no, definitely.
Sure, absolutely.
That's like a $30,000 case right there.
Yeah, with all those wood minis, and
it's stupid. Yeah.
So how do you? In the final question tonight, with Edgar Martinez getting in the Hall of Fame finally, really is being a true, I guess, the first real true DH player to get in. How do you feel as a Mariners fan that he's going to be a Hall of Famer?
I mean, I think it's great. I mean, it's been a big push up here for Edgar for many years. Now, me not being a Mariner fan, up to about 3 or 4 years ago, I understand how good he was as a fan of baseball, but as a Mariner fan, not being a Mariner fan my entire life, I don't really have that deep connection to him as I did with like Chipper Jones when he went in a couple years ago, being a Braves fan as a kid. But I think it's great up here because we had Griffey 3 years ago. We've got Edgar now. We're going to have Ichiro sometime in the next 5 to 10 years when he ever retires. But, I think it's about time. He was due, and it's a good thing up here for us because it's going to be a couple lean years of baseball in Seattle, and to have that ceremony this year is going to be good for the team.
Well, and you saw that he signed a spring training deal with the Mariners.
He did
recently.
Yep. So he's going to play in Japan because in Japan we get, the team gets 3 extra spots because it's in the middle of spring training. So he's going to play in Japan, but the rumors are he wants to play next year. So I'm a little hesitant to believe it's only going to be for Japan, and he might try to play the whole year.
Interesting. And he's an interesting guy. He's just been one of those unique characters in the game, and he's had a hell of a career. So It's
not that you guys do hockey,
time.
but kind of akin to Yammer Yager, who just
Mm-hmm.
up until last year just played for years and years and years and years and years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, we appreciate your time and hopping on with us tonight and giving us some great knowledge as someone that gets on and busts a bunch of cases and flips them and sells them and puts them all together. And you've been one of our most valuable listeners. You're on all the time, and you always share great information on Twitter. So, guys, make sure you're following Chris at CRT sports cards. Again, all this stuff's in the show notes, so you'll be able to see that. We'll send it out as well. Chris, thanks for joining us tonight. Yep. You have a great week, and good luck with your cases.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much. Have a good one.
All righty.
Pull that atrio.
So, yeah, great interview with Chris. 2 weeks in a row, we've had amazing interviews. Last week, we had Tanner Jones on, and that was an awesome interview with his book. This week, we have Chris Torres on here. In upcoming weeks, we're not going to have an interview next week just because we have a ton of releases finally coming out that we're going to talk about. But we have 4 or 5 guys in the hopper that we're going to bring on that offer different things in the hobby as collectors or sellers or just knowledge-based guys that are going to be on the show. And I appreciate everybody that's reached out that said they want to be on the show. We'd love to have gals on the show, Jenny. We'd love to have you on sometime. I see you in the chat tonight. So, and get perspective from all over from different people in the hobby. So we want to bring this to you. So we're going to hop into the week that was last week's releases. Tops Living from 2 weeks ago, week 44. We didn't have numbers last week because the site was down. They were updating it, and we have them. But we don't have numbers for last week yet, so we're still a week behind. But here we go. Card number, we had week 44. We sold 10,030 cards. Guys, it was the worst week ever. Week 44 out of 44. It had George Springer, card 130. He sold just over 3,500. He was card 122. Card 131, Will Myers of the Padres, sold just over 3,200. He was card 128. Beating him out by just a handful of cards, by 11 cards. Card number 132, Daniel Migden of the A's, card sold just over 3,250 cards. He was card number 127. He's the 127th most popular card. So bad week. I think this last week with Thomas, Trey Turner, and Devin Travis will go higher because of Thomas, but not much. You know, I wasn't surprised. I was surprised though that Will Myers was the lowest selling card of the week. I guess Ben is the one that pushed him over the top.
That's right. I only bought one, so I'm not surprised. I mean, Mangden, it's a cool looking card, but overall it was just kind of a blah week.
Yeah.
Right.
So overall we're at 861,065 cards.
Plus or minus.
Yeah. Well, we still have last week's data in. That's an accurate number. I've added all of them up. I took off all my socks and shoes and I counted that. That was a long time to count. But yeah, you know, it's just kind of like we're in a lull because we're in the off season. I can tell you when spring training hops back up,
Sure.
We'll probably have an amazing week to start off there. So, well, we're gonna hop in a hot off the presses this week's new releases for Tops Living week of January 16th through the 23rd, or the 23rd. I'm sorry, the 23rd through the 30th. Week 46, we have card 136, Hall of Famer, unanimous Hall of Famer pitcher Mariano Rivera of the New York Yankees, the 10th Yankee. Of course, they're leading the way. Card 137, Michael Lorenzen, pitcher of the Cincinnati Reds. He's the 5th Red. And then card 138, Jake Odorizzi, pitcher, Minnesota Twins, the 4th Twin. It's an all-pitcher week.
Bias aside, fun name to say.
Odorizzi. And, you know, I really appreciate the Brewers because they sent him and Kane and Cedes Escobar and Jeffries to us for Zach Greinke. And we ended up sending Odorizzi and Will Myers for James Shields and oh God, his name just fell, Wade Davis. And we went on to win a World Series with those 4 guys, all because of Zach Greinke and his mental issues. And thank you very much. We appreciate it, Brew Crew. It's neat. Mariano, of course, they release Mariano the week he gets into the Hall of Fame, and he's the first unanimous guy, which kind of doesn't sit well with me, but whatever. It doesn't matter. You're in the Hall of Fame, you're in the Hall of Fame. It's like doctors that get D's, get degrees, right? And doctors that get straight A's are still doctors, and they get, they're in there. So once you're a doctor until you lose your license, and once you're in the Hall of Fame, you're never leaving. So,
well,
who have they kicked out of the Hall of Fame? Kirby Puckett's still in there.
Damn right.
So, guys, are you excited about anybody this week?
I mean, it's a twin, so I'll have to think about whether I want to splurge and talk to Twins Jake about it. But no, not really. I think we're all in agreement that Mariano, while a Hall of Fame talent, isn't necessarily 100%, no doubt, deserving of every single writer's vote.
Yes.
Especially when Griffey wasn't, especially when Ruth wasn't, especially when Willie Mays wasn't, especially when any number of guys in the past weren't.
George Brett.
Yeah, but that's an old school line of thinking that needs to stop. Just because, I mean, you're seeing the passing of the guard, this younger writing people that weren't even alive during the steroid era, for what it's worth. They're basing it on merits. Either you're a Hall of Famer or you're not. There's so many people that penalized, good Hall of Fame players in the past because, Mantle didn't. So then Brett can't. And if Brett can't, then the next one can't. And if that one can't, then the next one can't. And it's like, yeah, it kind of sucks that a relief pitcher's finally the one to break the 100. But you know what? He deserved it. He was a Hall of Fame pitcher. Guys that came before him, I'm sure Jeter will get 100% next year because that has been broken. I'm tired of that narrative that, oh, well, we can't have 100% because somebody else didn't. All you need is 75%. Once you get there, it doesn't matter. John Smoltz brought up a good point yesterday.
So then spread those votes around.
John Smoltz brought up a good point and said, nobody asked you what year you got in. In other words, if you get in your last year like Edgar Martinez, nobody's going to care. Same thing. Nobody's going to care other than people that are nitpicking on, the Twitterverse, what percent.
No, but if you know someone's a true Hall of Famer, spread those votes around.
Yeah, I think, we got to let Bonds and Clemens, and I'm sorry. They need to be in.
They do. But, they've got a good chance next year now that Jeter's your only surefire Hall of Famer next year. And now you've taken...
Well, what low-end Hall of Famers are we going to let in next year? Like Lou Whitaker and
yeah, but
what are scrub Hall of Famers are going to get in from the Veterans Committee?
I don't think they vote every year. They vote every couple of years, I think.
Okay, well, that'll be fun when we get those guys back in, just like random, we're going to put in this year, we're going to put in JT Snow. He's a good Hall of Famer.
So next year, who's going to benefit, I believe, is going to be Schilling probably gets in or gets very close. Bonds and Clemens jump up. Walker's going to jump up. And I do think Todd Helton's going to see a decent jump. Not huge, but I think he might get into the high 30s because of the Coors effect. He and Walker are both going to struggle to get in, and they're going to take quite a few years. But Helton, to me, is a Hall of Famer. When you look at – you want to get into the numbers aspect of it, these guys are Hall of Famers.
Yep.
Sans Harold Baines. I mean, let's just kind of throw that out there and say, okay.
Well, did you see there was an interesting thing on I think it was MLB they sent out where they ranked all the Hall of Famers and put them in tiers, and they had like a criteria of scoring. And
yeah.
Oh my God. I'll send that back out. It was interesting reading where some of these guys were and how crappy they were compared to some of the other guys and where they fell. And Baines was there at the bottom. So
yeah, the stat that was awesome to me was I think it was Tim Kirkchin that was sharing it. I could be mistaken as to who it was, but or it might have been Verducci, that 12 men have walked on the moon, and Rivera only gave up 11 earned runs in the postseason in his entire career, which equates to roughly 2 full years worth of what he would have done for the Yankees. I mean, that's just an incredible stat when you think about it and you put things into perspective, which is often overused cliche, but hey, another one. It is what it is.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah, I think we're going to be at about a 10,000 card week. So moving on, we have 2018-19 Panini Crown Memorial Basketball that was released today. You can get it for about $94 or $95 a box. It's 1 pack per box, 12 cards per pack. You're going to get 1 auto and 1 mem. There's a 240 card base set with cards 102 201 through 240. They're the rookie silhouettes, and they're all numbered out of 199. There's a prime out of 25 and a super prime 1 out of 1. There's no Wendell Carter though, the rookie center for the Bulls. There's 5 base parallels. You're gonna have 5 autograph sets, 2 mem sets, 6 insert sets, and the big insert set's the Kaboom. It's the most sought after insert set, and I believe it's falling 1 every 2 cases.
Yeah, Mojo opened 1 case apparently and did not get one. They opened their 2nd case today, and they pulled I want to say Kyrie Irving, but I might be mistaken. Yep. But they did pull one today, and it was 1 every 2 cases in their thing.
Yeah, and so there's 25 of the Kaboom cards, and they are previously in Excalibur. So I was at our LCS today, teammates in Carmichael, California, and I watched a guy open a bunch of product. It was neat. He spent quite a bit of money, but he went through and he ended up opening almost the full case of Crown Royal, and he did pull his best auto was probably Marvin Bagley that he pulled out, and then he pulled out one of the gold rookie auto silhouettes, but there was a gold auto rookie that he pulled out at a 10, but it was it was a second round player. As Steph has his Crown Royal out tonight, but then he pulled out a Kaboom of Joel Embiid. And, nice. So, I don't know how well he did, on his ROI, but it was fun to watch somebody open a full case right there in front of you and how quick you can go through some packs. But it was interesting. So nice looking product. They have cool looking cards. And anybody's ever seen the Crown Royal cards, they have like the little crown top and very interesting design. And, the relic card, he pulled out a Porzingis relic that was pretty legit. It was a auto patch, and it was a real good patch of part of his last name. That was neat to see. But besides that, the other relic, they were just like little tiny swatches on there, so they weren't anything to be super excited about. So no Lucas. So I did see a Lucas Silver today. It was pretty neat. The guy at the LCS, the owner of the LCS tried to buy it, and the guy had it wouldn't sell it. So. But that's going to bring another topic up here later in the show. What's brewing next week's releases? Guys, get ready. We have 6 releases next week. Finally, we have some releases coming back after having a week with none and a couple with 1. 2019 Top Series 1 Baseball Hobby and Jumbo next Wednesday. The flagship is back. Baseball card collecting season can officially begin. I'm very excited. Also, 2018-19 Upper Deck SP Game Used Hockey. We're going to talk a little hockey next week, guys. Get ready for the burr of that. 2018 Panini Limited Football next Wednesday as well. 2018-19 Panini Donruss Optic Basketball. We also have 2018 Leaf U.S. Army All-American Football Vaults, and 2019 TriStar Autograph Baseball Platinum Edition, all on Wednesday. So we have a little bit of everything. We have basketball, we have baseball, we have football, we have hockey, we have high school football, and we have autographed balls. Balls, all over the place. It's going to be great. Lots of cool stuff to talk about. I'm hoping to open up some hobby before we get on the show, just to get a feel in my hands, that first pack of the year. Always pull out that first card. What's your first card of the year? I want to see that. What's your first Topps card of 19? Send that to me at Big Shep. At About the Cards. I want to see what it is and cherish it. Let's see if yours is better than mine. Infield chatter, guys. We're going to hop right into this.
Let's do it.
Hobby Talk section. Are you guys ready? Are you ready? There's going to be some good discussion in here tonight. So real quick, I want to shout out to Jenny. Jenny Miller 521 on Twitter. Send me a screenshot on Saturday afternoon that myself at Big Ship 79's August 7th Twitter conversation with Pat Neshek is in this month's Beckett. And we talked about his Topps Living card. And I haven't seen the whole thing. It was just a quick screenshot. And I went to the LCS today to buy the Beckett so I could look at it, and take my picture with it and shoot off. But the Beckett's never came. So they're supposed to be there here today. But I'm going to go back probably Saturday and hopefully pick 1 or 2 up, sign them, frame them, that kind of cool stuff. Because, a lifelong dream to be in Beckett. So I was pretty excited about that. Told the guys I was leaving them. I was going to pull up Beyonce and have my own podcast and just be all about me all the time. So they didn't think I would do very well, though.
No, probably not. You just don't have the industry know-how and knowledge to keep a podcast afloat by yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's it.
All right. I know that on the 90 Fleer, at the bottom, there's one that says it's U.S.A. But there's one where the A, at the end of the A, there's no dot there. I can tell you that. And then I also have ones that are made in Canada.
There are.
Canada. Yay. So I don't know if you guys saw this. Panini redemption issues. So there was a tweet from a few guys talking about the redemption issues with Panini and like, hey, I've had one in there like 6 or 7 months and it's not moved. And someone followed up with, hey, I've had one since 2014 and I'm still waiting. So Panini, at Panini, CSM tweeted out that there's somebody you can email. So I'm going to read this tweet and we'll share this email with everyone. You can email Josh Camillo any of the redemption request numbers that are past 4 months that you want to trade out, that you want traded out along with teams and players wanted, and he can add you to the trade out queue. And it's Josh it's JCAMILLO at PaniniAmerica.net, and we'll send that out. But there's a good connection, a good contact there if you have old redemptions from Panini. But real quick, guys, before I want to follow up with this and have you guys answer some questions. But I was talking to somebody that had some old redemptions on the Panini website, and they were a few years old. Panini actually canceled their redemption request and issued them Panini points.
Of course they did.
They didn't give them option of saying, hey, you know what, that's fine if the card doesn't exist. I collect yada yada. And then they get a card. They just gave them points.
I would send an email to this person and say, hey, this was done. Is that offer still available? Here was my numbers. What can I trade for that's team here, player here?
Yep.
That's bad for 2 reasons, because the first one would be value. I mean, Panini points we've discussed in the past. If we bought or pulled an expensive redemption, you're just going to cancel my Aaron Judge, from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and give me 500 Panini points.
Yeah.
And then the other issue, I had an outstanding one with Topps from 2013 Triple Threads of Dave Stewart, and I was really excited because I just don't have a whole lot of Dave Stewart in my collection. And he's got a beautiful autograph, and I was so excited to, $12, $15 or whatever it was. And it finally came probably 2 years ago. It's about 3 years out by the time it actually came. And I talked to Topps one time, and I was like, hey, do you have any idea of when he might sign? They're like, do you want a replacement? I said, no, I don't want a replacement. I just want to know if it's on. Do you have access to, like, hey, we have Dave Stewart in the queue, and we plan on getting him everything in a month, a year. Do you know anything? Do you want a replacement or not? And I'm like, well, all right. I can see your customer service. But as a team collector or player collector, yeah, take somebody like our friend Tanner Jones. Do you think that he'd be too happy if he had a Canseco redemption that was canceled for Panini points or canceled for another A's or something of comparable value? Of course not.
They're a good friend on Twitter at Watch the Breaks. He was gobbling up certain Blake Bortles autograph cards from 2014 Topps football, and the redemptions have been in there, since 14. And I think it was about 6 or 8 months ago, he finally decided to give up because they were, I think, numbered out of 5, and he had like 4 of the 5. Hoping to get 5 out of 5 because that was his number, and he was kind of, doing a, speculation thing. Well, Bortles really hasn't turned out, and he finally decided to cash him in for other things because it's like, well, the NFL no longer has an agreement with Topps to produce cards. So can he, one, legally sign these? Because now the deal's been expired for a handful of years. And so he finally gave up, and I don't know whatever he got for them. But, it's like one of those things, like, redemptions aren't – sometimes you can win out because I saw somebody on Twitter that was missing a hit and reached out to Panini and said, hey, I'm a Giants fan, and they sent him 100 pence from the set, but then they also sent him a Joey Bart out of, like, 50 autograph. So I see those stories, but then you hear more of these other ones where it's like,
we might want to get into that once we've maybe had a chance to research it about the legalities of if somebody left. I mean, there's a reason like Bill Belichick isn't included in Madden. He's not part of the coaching association.
Yeah.
Right.
So he never will be in Madden because he will not join. So, what happens if there's a guy that refuses to join the Players Association? I think Barry Bonds was like that for years. That's why he was always,
Scott
San
Downs.
Francisco. Yeah, he was like San Francisco Giants outfielder in so many video games because they didn't have the license to him.
Barry O'Dowd.
Yeah, Barry.
What do we do if in a situation? It might be worth doing a little research and posing that in future weeks.
Yeah,
I would think the obvious would be that if he had a contract to sign in such and such year, that it's null and void after such and such year, especially with the turnover. But yeah, let's save that one for another day.
Yeah, we want to do a little bit of legal research, and maybe we'll have our friend Philly Puck fan on. He might be able to shed some light due to his profession.
Yeah,
Sure.
And also too, guys, what do you think about this? So I saw Blowout is offering to buy Panini points. So for cash, they're giving you 3 cents a point, or for store credit, you're getting 3.5 cents per point. So 150 points is like, what was it, like $4.50 in cash and $5 in store credit or whatever. So, would you sell your point? I mean, one, what does Blowout know is coming to the store? Okay, that they want to amass a whole bunch of points, because it reminds me of a Goof Troop or a Goofy Show cartoon from years ago when I was a child, where someone was buying the crappiest card in the set, the baseball cards that they had on the Goofy Show in their world. He was buying all of them from everybody for $1, which was like 10 times what they were worth. Destroyed all of them and had only one mint one left, right? So now is the most valuable card because there's only one left. So do you think that one, Blowout knows something that's coming to the store, or two, just wants to go and pick off bigger items on there?
I would say two. They want to pick off the biggest items.
Rob Sports Card says Kaboom packs. What are Kaboom packs? Are they packs with these awesome Kabooms that were supposed to be in Crown Royal?
I think he's talking about the name of the packs from the show.
Yeah, I would imagine as far as Panini points go, I don't think that they know something's coming down the pipeline. Although if anybody were to know, that they would definitely be at the top of the list, and a very short list at that. I think it's more they're going to hoard them, either to spend them or offering some kind of a promotion later. If you buy X amount of dollars through them, you get X amount of Panini points, because it could be a good, the equity that builds up, more of a return on equity as opposed to a return on investment, very well could be there if they, amass these, and then they can, who knows, maybe they're in with Panini and do know something is coming down the pipeline. I would just imagine they're just going to buy them because they can.
Yeah, but it's just weird all of a sudden, right? Like, wouldn't you been? I don't know. Anyway, it just kind of struck me as odd, and so just kind of want to bring that to light. Just something to think about and wait and see if anything does happen.
It's kind of interesting because if you're putting a market worth of $4.50 on $150 or 150 points, excuse me, I wonder what they envision the value, because they can't be paying market for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's got to be and I don't know. I've never pulled Panini points, so I don't know what people are willing to pay for 150. But again, if Panini at any point decides to do away with this program or changes the scope of it, he with the most points might be the last man standing. I mean, it might be something where, who knows? It's interesting that they're offering it at the very least, and it seems like you're getting a fair return. You pull $4.50 in cash.
Yeah, no, I have 150 points that I got tossed in from a break or something. I'm gonna sell to them because hell, I don't want them. I'll take $4 or whatever and go buy some, put towards something I want, on eBay. But it's kind of crazy, right? So it just made me wonder, and it's one of those things to sit on. So we threw out a poll earlier this week about Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, and where they will sign in 2019. So, Steph, where do you think Bryce Harper, since these guys haven't signed yet, and it's like late January again, this is getting ridiculous, but where do you think Bryce Harper will be next year?
You would think that they would already be signed just because that's the way that the league has gone since they got free agency. But I think the players are holding out for the best offer, and the teams just aren't willing to hit what they think somebody of Machado or Harper's talents are.
Yeah.
That said, I think Harper pulls a Mauer and stays with the Nationals.
All right,
quote unquote hometown deal.
Yeah. Ben, where do you see Harper going?
I voted for the Phillies in the poll because I think that's the rumor mill has him heading to Philadelphia, who wants to spend the stupid money, and they need one or the other. Otherwise, this offseason will be seen as a disappointment. Even if they go out and get Keuchel and Kimbrel instead, along with McCutchen, who they've already brought in, and at the end of the day, I mean, if the rumors are true that there was a 10-year, $300 million deal on the table with opt-outs probably after years 3, 5, and 7, Harper's probably going to be with the Nationals because I just don't see, unless he's willing to take like a 3 or 4 year deal with a higher average annual value of, say, 4 years, $120 million from the Dodgers, where you're making $30 million a year. I mean, Mike Trout, I think, is making 32 and change this year, or 33 maybe. So you would have to imagine that for him to sign a 4-year deal, he would have to probably be around $35 million per season.
Yeah.
So if he's looking for longevity in years, he may end up going back to the Nationals because I don't know if another team's going to get close to 10 for 300.
Yeah. So our poll had 40 votes for Harper. With the Nationals received 18 votes, the Phillies 60%. The San Francisco Giants, I put that in there for me, received only 3%, and other was 19. I would hope the Giants would go out. I just don't think they're going to do that now.
He would not sign with that park because of it just being a killer for left-handers.
Yeah. Bonds did okay.
Bonds, come on, let's be serious now. Bonds was juicing.
Well, no, he was not. He was just an awesome baseball player.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think the big thing is I don't think anybody's going to offer 10-year deals. Honestly, I think it's a dumb idea to offer 10-year deals to these guys now. I mean, we've seen what's happened with, like the Pujols deal, and like the Prince Fielder deals. Like
it's different. They're different.
No, but it doesn't matter. I'm just talking about age and the way these players age.
You're talking about signing Cano at 31, Pujols at 31. Fielder was what, at 28 or 29 when he signed? I mean, it's not the same. They're not unilaterally, comparable because there are variables that are different.
Yeah, but he's still being put in the years on it. It's like LeBron at 35 is not Tim Duncan at 35. Think of all the NBA miles LeBron had on him, and versus Duncan at the same age.
Well, yeah, because he was with a coach that monitors his minutes and gave him time off.
I'm just talking about just pure game, just games and playoffs, and you have all the extra mileage on you. No matter how old you are, it's going to wear you down faster.
But let's take the infielders and go Machado versus Cano. Machado's 26, Cano is 31 when they sign their, when Machado inevitably signs this year and what Cano signed with the Mariners. 5 years into it, Machado's 31 and Cano's 36, definitely on the back end of his career. Although he's still productive, his return is probably not nearly as sufficient. To me, looking at yesteryears, there have been articles on the Athletic that's broken these down really well about the 10-year contracts. But the big caveat at the end is, it's one of those things. Don't sign it because they don't work out. But these guys are different because of the age.
Yeah, I don't think long term it's a good investment for the team, and that's why we're not seeing these guys sign yet.
Well, we're about to get to Machado, which brings up a really interesting point that everybody's aware of that I'll reiterate once we get to him.
So yeah, it says the Phillies on here. I believe he's back with the Nationals, though. I think that's what makes most sense if they did if that deal's still on the table. So Manny Machado, where do you think he goes, Steph?
I think that the Phillies are looking to upgrade their stuff, and my argument would have been for the Phillies and maybe White Sox. I've seen their names thrown around. I hope they don't go to the White Sox. Not biased there in that answer, but it's possible.
Ben, where do you think he's headed?
So I chose the White Sox. I mean, obviously they traded for Yonder Alonso, who's his brother-in-law. They've hired his dentist. They've hired other people that are personally linked to him. So it looks like the White Sox are there. They have a 7-year, $175 million reported deal on the table, which is an average annual value of $25 million. You would think that if the Phillies are willing to spend stupid money and could use an upgrade on the left side of the infield, what's 7 years, $200 million? It's only 28.5 average annual value. It's only $3.5 million more than what the White Sox are offering. If the Phillies really wanted him, they could probably get this deal done tonight if they were really willing to. And I think that's the hesitancy is, what if 7 years and $175 million is about the cap for these guys, both Harper and Machado, despite their age? Harper comes with the injury history and that he had one MVP year, but he's been very inconsistent. Machado comes with the fact that he's a prima donna who doesn't hustle and he's, a villain. 7 years, $175 million is a awesome deal. It's $25 million a year. Who doesn't say yes? That's why, if that's the market value for Machado and Harper, and I think Harper gets more money in the end of the day, and I think it'll be considerably more. And I think that's part of the reason Machado hasn't signed. He's really wanting to use Harper's contract for leverage.
Absolutely.
And Harper needs Machado's contract too, because if he settles for 7 years, $175 million, do the Nationals, does Ted Lerner come back and say, sorry, 10 years, $300 million is just not going to happen anymore?
Yeah. You enjoying your game, Steph?
Yeah, a little bit. Sorry. As we're already on the power play, and the Wild and Avalanche have a whole bunch of animosity towards each other, but they tried clearing the puck and shipped it out of play, so they're down 5-on-3, and I'm loving it.
This is hockey Steph's talking about for those who are unfamiliar.
But one last thing though on Harper is there's always been linked to, if I was putting the poll up on the About the Cards Twitter feed, I think that I would have put the Dodgers, not the Giants, as the third team.
Sure.
They traded Kemp and they traded Puig to Cincinnati. There's rumors that they're trading Jock Peterson to the White Sox. Who knows if that goes through?
Right.
But all the stars are aligning for Harper to end up in Los Angeles, where ultimately he should be from a marketability standpoint. Major League Baseball really needs. I was listening to Chris Russo this week, and he was talking about how they're just failing miserably in Major League Baseball. You have Mike Trout, good-looking young kid. You've got Bryce Harper, good-looking young kid. Why aren't you marketing them in the same way that the NBA players are being marketed and the NFL players are being marketed?
Well, Trout said he doesn't. They've gone to Trout for stuff, and he has told them no.
That's the problem with Major League Baseball, and that's why they're going to fade into. They're by far right now the third most popular sport, and it's not close to number two.
The NBA is number one. It's funny right now. The NBA is taking over.
The NBA is a marketing machine. That's why a week ago when Kyler Murray meets with the A's brass and Major League Baseball sends their marketing team, it's like, you might as well send us, because we can't do any worse than Major League Baseball. Their marketing sucks. It really does. They have a lot of good young talent right now. Lindor's a good-looking kid with a smile that rivals Tony Gwynn's, and he has the Latin community and support. It's like, why aren't you marketing all this young talent, Altuve and Correa and Lindor and Ramirez, and you have you have so much young talent right now that if we just stuck to the under 27, 28, we could build a monster roster of 30 people, and how many of them are recognizable to the casual fan outside their local market?
Sure.
You know what I mean? I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers. He's on every friggin' commercial,
except for in his parents' house.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, so no, I voted here. We'll break down the votes. I thought he would go to the White Sox just because the White Sox are terrible. I think Machado is overrated. I think his deal goes down similar. Not that he's the same type of player as Jose Reyes, but when he signed with the Marlins and they realized, like, yeah, we shouldn't have spent this money. This was a bad deal. Like,
right.
Let's dump him.
Well,
So whoever signs Machado is still going to lose with him because I don't believe he's a winner. That's how I feel.
Stefan, you want to turn that down a little bit, buddy?
Yeah, sure.
One thing to keep in mind, Machado is worth considerably more if he plays third base than if he plays shortstop.
But he doesn't want to play third base. He wants to play shortstop.
I would sign him, and I hate him because of the whole Josh Donaldson thing. He's not a fan favorite in Oakland whatsoever. But if I'm looking at this objectively, if I'm a general manager, considering all of the issues, I still think he's a valuable asset, and I would sign him to an average annual value of about 25 to 27 million, under one assumption and one caveat, and that's he plays third base, because he is a monster at third base. He may not be Arenado and Chapman anymore, but he's right there at number 3, and it's really not debatable. It's hard, once you get past Chapman and Arenado. But if you want to put him at shortstop, then it's kind of like, the whole Jeter A-Rod thing. A-Rod was a superior shortstop. He should have played shortstop, but Jeter was the captain and wasn't moving off the position.
Right. That's actually what I was just about to propose, akin to the Jeter A-Rod.
Yeah, if you look at it, but he's the same person versus that. If you're looking, Jeter should have been the third baseman. A-Rod should have been the shortstop, at least when A-Rod became a Yankee. Same thing. Machado should be a third baseman, especially if he goes to a team that has a strong shortstop already. Sure. When you start to move these pieces around on the chessboard, it's like you're sacrificing your rook for a pawn just because this guy wants to. I don't get it.
Right.
There's 92 votes on this one, which I thought was exciting. Oh, the White Sox had 70%. The Phillies had 8%. The Rangers had 3%. I picked kind of a random team, and I was reading an article that the Rangers might be a sneaky team on Machado, and the others received 19%. But others can sign both these guys. The others that'd be a hell of a team. Another poll that was put out this week was from @SaberBBCards on Twitter. We stole his poll. I just wanted to let him know. And I just thought it was interesting. What best describes you? Set collector, team collector, player collector, other/don't collect. There's a ton of votes on here. And set collector ends up winning with 37%, with player collector in at 28%, team collector 20%, others or don't collect at 15%. I thought it was really interesting that set collector was higher than player collector and even team collector.
Real quick, who is Saber BB Cards?
I'm pulling up.
That's Rich Klein, is that not?
No, it's his is Saber Geek.
Saber Geek, okay.
There was 300. I'm sorry, there was 367 votes. I want to make sure I got that.
You have to consider the source, where if you have somebody who collects predominantly hits and gets into breaks, high-end hits, if they pose a similar poll, you would have to consider their following base, people that might respond to their poll would be a little different than somebody who has a Saber title.
Sure.
In other words, they're probably more set and team collectors that follow that person versus other Twitter accounts that are within the hobby. So there is that variable to kind of consider, that who's his audience.
Sure.
No, yeah, but I just, it just kind of stuck out to me. I mean, it just was an interesting number that was so much higher. Being, I mean, it was 9% higher, which just with 367 votes, that's a good number. And to me, it just kind of stood out. I just wanted to share it out there. I love building sets and putting them together, but I always find like I'm the only one, and everybody else is always just hit chasing and keep doing it, guys, and just keep dumping those singles on me. I'll take it.
I love it.
Well, and just the hobby as a whole, you would assume that a set would be higher just because there's more of it put out there, and then it would branch into the team and player collectors. I thought maybe team would be higher, or player the reverse of what the actual results were. One would be higher than the other team or player. But that doesn't really surprise me.
There really are five segments: set, team, player, hit, and all of the above.
Ripper and flipper.
You know, there's the other, or don't collect. I don't understand don't collect, but you know, other has got to be more or less hit collectors that don't really specify. But I mean, we had our friend Chris on here just now. How would he respond? He's not a set collector. He's not necessarily a team collector, as he identified that he's a select collector of a specific team. And he's not a player collector. So, it's a very diverse thing. I'm not that surprised that there's that many set collectors, because what defines a set? Team set,
insert set, base set, team set.
Yeah, because you could be a team collector and not be a set collector. I'm a team collector, but I only collect autos and relics. So it's I responded to that and I said I'm a team collector, but the lines really cross with set collector and player collector there, because I'm kind of
but they all kind of merge together. But it's like really what's your main focus? Like I only collect Oakland A's, and I collect either sets or autos or relics of the A's, but I collect only one team, and that's all I do. Right. Versus, hey, I build sets 1 through whatever, and that's my main focus. Or I only collect Jose Barrios cards, and only Jose Barrios cards, and the other cards don't matter to me.
Right.
Or I don't do anything else. Now, real quick, I see Rob Sports Cards here says, can we talk about the 2011 Topps update, Mike Trout PSA 10 prize explosion? I want to get to that topic maybe in a week or two. I'll add it to the list because, that Trout card, like I heard a story today of a guy that was his kids going to college, and they were cleaning out his closet, the kid's closet. And he and his dad collected cards, but he had stopped when he started getting into high school or junior high, I think it was. Well, they found out they were going through these monster boxes, and he had a whole bunch of 11 update. Digs through and finds a Trout base and a black.
Oof.
Sends it off, gets it graded. Now, it's been in a box since 2011 with a whole bunch of other commons. It came back like an 8, but he's been offered $10,000 already for the card. So, it's crazy. Like, it's just the base card too has gone way up in price in the last year. It's just interesting to see. That's a whole thing I want to do some research on to be able to talk smart about it and share that with you. But that definitely is a great topic that we want to get to.
So you're saying you want to sell it for $300?
Not now. Not now, but I have a really good friend that took really good care of me.
Of course.
Yes. So we were going to talk about eBay and the LCS versus show, but I think we're going to move that to next week. We are running a little heavy tonight. We have a couple other topics we want to get to that I think are more pertinent. So that's a topic we'll cover in another day. We're going to talk about, buying and selling and trading and stuff like that on different platforms. So we will get to that here in a future weeks. Real quick, we wanted to talk about 2019 Baseball Hall of Fame inductees, what their best card is. So not necessarily like their rookie card, their most valuable card, their best autograph card, what we think their best card is. Like the one card, hey, if I'm going to have one card of every Hall of Famer, and it might not be a rookie card, but it's going to be maybe a different card, this is the card I would have. So we're going to kind of go in reverse order of how good we think I thought these Hall of Famers were. So the first guy I have up is Mr. Lee Smith. So Steph, what is the one Lee Smith card you'd want to have?
I mean, any over they are, and it's not to say based on the talent. And I know one of the core first reliever types to come up along with drawing blanks like Eckersley or Jeff Reardon or whatnot. None of the cards really stand out. It's not a Nolan Ryan. It's not a Goose Gossage. It's not a huge major name. Yeah, I know he has all the huge save amounts, but maybe there's a reason it took him to the Veterans Committee.
Yeah. No, I try to think of one outside of his 1982 Topps rookie card. That's the one I picked. And I looked, so I did a Google search of like Lee Smith cards just to see if there was one. No, I did an image search because I wanted to see, and then I went to ComC and I looked through there to see if yeah, I do remember that. None of them. No Lee Smith card stood out to me whatsoever. Like I remember them, but none of them stood out. So Ben, what's your Lee Smith card?
We must have been on Google search together, dude. We might as well have just screen shared. No, I think Stefan hit it home. Let's use Eckersley, who's another dominant closer, as opposed to Rivera, who's actually somebody we're about to talk about. Eckersley had the 76 rookie card, which is, a very popular rookie card amongst collectors. You have the 87 Topps traded, where he's in the dugout with the A's.
And the uniform's like neon green and yellow, too, which is amazing.
You have the 86 and 87 Topps where he's with the Cubs. So he's got a lot of identifying cards that you could go to for Eck. I was the same way. I chose the 87 Topps only because it was the first set that really resonated with me. I mean, I know we mentioned that so many times. He's got his glove towards his chest, and he's kind of looking off to the side.
Oh, he's kind of mean mugging.
Yeah, he's got a lot of 86 Topps was another one where he's got a little bit of the fro coming out of the bottom of the cap. But 87 Topps was one that resonated with me. But again, it was like, to me, it's almost like, yeah, I'm making a hamburger. You want mayonnaise on it? Not really, but if you've already put it on the bread, I guess I'll eat it.
Yeah. Once the Cub says his favorite Lee Smith is the Fleer rookie air inverted Cubs logo. So hey, there we go. That'd be a good one.
I'm always for variation.
Different. Steph would like that because it was an air and was something different.
Yeah, see, Steph would be tweaking on the wrong. He'd just be like on the error and not on who it was. He wouldn't care.
Yeah. Let's move on to my favorite Hall of Famer and yours too, Harold Baines.
He's my Hall of Famer, your Hall of Famer, our Hall of Famer.
Harold Baines. Now, I feel bad because Baines, he's got to know, like, I probably shouldn't be in this group, but all right. Like when you get invited, like a bunch of cool kids in school are going out to like a movie and like you're standing nearby and they know you overheard. So they like, oh, why don't you come with us? It's like the pity invite. And you're just like, all right, I'll go, but I probably shouldn't, So Steph, what is yours? I see a card. What did you pull? Oh,
I again, there's not really huge major standouts, but I just love the jersey.
Oh, I love that.
I know it's not the rookie. That was 2 years prior. Ex-teammate of my hometown, 1981 White Sox home run leader. But the just socks across the front, the huge the batting helmet logo, generic stance with a little in-cut photo. I mean, 83 Topps is like top 10 set for Topps.
Yeah. I picked the 92 Donruss Diamond King where he's with the A's because that set is gorgeous. And that was my card. Ben?
Yeah, we're not going to pick on Harold Baines because we did that a couple weeks ago. He was a good player. I like the 83 Topps. I think that was a nice one. I almost went with the 86 Donruss Diamond Kings because of the old school White Sox logo on the hat, and he had the big afro kind of coming out of the sides. And I mean, I'm just a huge Diamond Kings fan from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But I went with the 92 Triple Play, which was an A's card. He's kind of looking to the side, and he's blowing a gigantic bubble, and to where you almost can't see his whole face. I mean, it's like half the face is hidden behind the bubble of the gum. I just think it's a really neat, fun picture. Triple Play always had those kinds in the 90s. Kind of off the beaten path, fun stuff. So
I think they're still making 91 Triple Play.
Probably.
So, Mike the Moose Musina. Now, Ben and I picked the same card, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about the card, and the men can add to it. Mine is and I want to know why Ben likes it, but the 1992 Fleer card, the green border. The reason it's my favorite card is I got a box that year, and I opened it up, and I was reading and backing about through the mail autographs. So I sent a handful out, I think in like 93, and I had a couple extra Mussina, so I threw one in and sent it to him, and it came back autographed, and I still have the card, and it's a neat looking card. His autograph is very clean on the card, and it was always one of those things. It's like one of the first ones I got back. I was like, well, it actually worked. I did him and Eric Wedge on the 93 Topps card because he played catcher for Wichita State, and he was with the Rockies, and it was, I think, one of his first early cards. And I still have both those, but I picked the 92 Fleer from Mussina. So why'd you go with it, Ben?
You know, to me, Mike Mussina, and congratulations to all of these guys for getting into the Hall. To me, Mike Mussina is a Hall of Very Good. To me, he's very vanilla. He's like a fortune cookie. You eat it because it's there, but it's not very good. But you know it's consistent. That fortune cookie is always going to taste the same every time you go to the Chinese restaurant. To me, there wasn't really a Mussina card that stuck out and said, "Wow, this is his iconic or identifying card." It's a really really basic looking card, but it had a little bit of personality. He's in the middle of his pitching motion. It's kind of more of a profile picture of him, not up close. I've been going through a lot of A's cards lately, and I've seen a million Dennis Eckersley's lately, and he always had that look where he had one eye closed. He just knew. I mean, all of his cards just look badass. With Mussina, he's just kind of there, and I just think it's a really smooth card. It's not fantastic in any which way. You know, it's just to me it just identifies and kind of describes Mike Mussina all in one. It's just a really basic, consistent card.
Steph, what's your favorite Mussina card?
I'm going back a year, and 19. My love. I'm gonna drop everything on my desk. My love for 1991 Topps can't be understated, and not just because of the parallels, but as I'm flipping through boxes at shows and whatnot, I can't not look at this and the Chipper Jones and flip to the back and look at the foil parallels. Yes, it's the Hagerstown Suns jersey that he's wearing there. And it's nothing super special like some of the photos that I'll have coming up in a bit for the AL Central. But the set design makes it for me.
Yeah, the other one and Rob here in the chat said the same thing. Is the score draft pick one was really cool too, 91. So
yeah, I consider that was actually probably been the second card I'd have put down after the 92 Fleer.
All right, we're gonna move on to the hit machine here. I don't even know if that was his nickname, but that'd be a good nickname for him. Edgar Martinez, a professional at batter. Ben, what's your favorite Edgar card?
He was another one that had a lot of just kind of plain Jane cards, including his rookie card, the 88 Fleer. I went with 1990 Bowman. I've spoken in the past about being probably a bigger Bowman fan than you guys. It's just a nice – he's got the 1980s Tom Selleck stash. It's just a nice picture of him.
Oh, that porn stash.
It's a porn stash. It kind of sums up Edgar Martinez in a whole. He was just there. You hated to face him with a bat. You know, if he was at bat, you knew there was a good chance you were going to lose that matchup because he was such a master. And there's a reason he's in the Hall of Fame. But when it came to cardboard, he had a lot of just plain cards.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these guys are getting hit up because of the junk wax era. My favorite was the 89 score where it had the rookie, and it's just because I never had a lot of 89 score. And it was just like the neat little design. I think he's playing third base, and his hat's on kind of funky. And just the fact that it says rookie on it when I was a kid always kind of stood out. So, Steph, what's your Edgar Martinez go-to?
So it's not a regular base. And it might be a show topic for another day, but Hall of Famers with minor league cards. Chattanooga Lookouts used to be a Twins minor league system there. I've always loved the name, the hat logo, the eyes. But this card screams Hall of Famer from the 80s. The huge hat, the hair flowing out the back, the jersey, the colorings, it just screams prototypical 80s Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that ribbed waistband, and then the same stripe going down the leg and around up the arms and around the neck. Just amazing.
One thing about Edgar Martinez too is he didn't play his first full season in the majors until age 27. A lot like Wade Boggs, who got a late start in his career. So, to be a Hall of Famer and accomplish what he did, he would have had to put up numbers, after age 33, 34, which is your typical end peak of a, baseball player. And he had another great story about him today about his eyesight being horrible. And when he had to take an eye test with one of the teams he was on, he went last so that he could have all of his other teammates go first. That way he could memorize the eye exam. So he passed with flying colors, not because he had good eyesight, but because when they said, cover this eye and read this line, he just knew it.
Rote memory.
Such a great story.
So we move on to Roy Halladay, former Blue Jay and Philly great, and unfortunately he won't be able to be there when he's inducted. Ben, what is your go-to Roy Halladay card?
I went with the 2011 Topps. It was numbered 359. It's the first postseason no-hitter card that kind of commemorated that. He's got his arms open, and Carlos Ruiz is running to him. They got it right before they embraced for the hug. And, because you knew he had just completed the no-hitter, you knew, that he was probably either going to be hoisted up in the air by Ruiz or he was going to grab Ruiz. So it's kind of a calm before the storm right before the pivotal hug moment. I just think it's such a great – because Doc Halladay, all he did was just show up and do his job, and he did it really well for 10 years. And to me, he's borderline Hall of Famer as well, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, sure. Steph, which one of his cards did you go with?
I could have gone with the base Bowman. I could have gone with the base Bowman Chrome. Underrated couple years there with 97, 98 Bowman in baseball and football. But I've always liked this year in particular's Bowman best design with a little star exploding pattern outwards. And you got him holding a pitch, just getting ready to unleash it. He wasn't necessarily the best pitcher the first few years, but something clicked, much like Johan Santana and a few other players that once a couple years pass, something clicks and they just got it.
Yeah,
well, he lowered his arm angle and he got sent back down to single A.
Right.
He lowered his arm angle and then he became the pitcher we know, and that just shows his fortitude of, he could have packed it in and went home and just said, all right, this isn't going to be in the cards for me, but he figured it out.
Yeah, right. Schilling was a lot the same way. I mean, he was traded a handful of times and was supposed to be this big-time guy, and it did take him a few trades and a few teams to figure it out. So mine was the 2012 Topps Series 1 card 150 because he was the Bucks. He was the face of Series 1 that year. And he's through his pitching motion, and it's just a really sharp card. And, it was one of the things that was a big deal for a pitcher, especially with a Phillies pitcher, to don the box. And it was also the first year I came back, and it was the first box I opened when I went back to collecting. And I always remember that pack and that box and what it looked like and that cards in that set. So it was kind of like my little go-to Roy Halladay card that re-sparked me into the hobby. The final one we're going to go is Mario Arno Rivera, the first unanimous Hall of Famer. I met in 2004 on a family cruise. He happened to be on the cruise ship. They found out, they had him set up an autograph session, and I got a couple signatures with him. But my favorite picture, and I got to find it, is he goes to shake my hand like we're taking the photo. My dad's taking the picture. He goes to shake my hand. I just totally snub him. And he's just sitting there with his hand out like, hey, dumbass. And I'm just like, I don't need to shake your hand, bro. I'm good. You know who I am? But it was neat to meet him. And we actually, when he was signing, and he has a beautiful autograph, and he took his time with everybody, and he's on a cruise. So I don't know if they paid for it or whatever, but he was on the cruise. Beautiful autograph. But we asked him questions, and I was talking about the Yankees had just lost Willie Randolph. Willie Randolph had been interviewing for jobs and didn't get one, and he said he's going to be a really good manager. And he was telling me about, it was just, something popped in my head. But what a nice guy. Like, very, very nice gentleman. And so the card I picked was his 92 Bowman, his classic rookie card. Be careful, there's some fakes out there. but he looks like a kid going to his first day of high school, and mom made him go out and pose for a picture, and that's the best they did. He's got that stance, and it's great. And those early Bowmen with those youngsters and the top stadium club too, where they're wearing their like polo shirts or whatever, and they're not in uniforms. It's just kind of odd to see, but probably one of my favorite cards of his.
Yeah, I went with the same one.
Yeah.
That's just too iconic for him not to.
Yeah. So one of my friends had one for sale. I was trying to buy it from him, but I think he sold it before I could pick it off his hands. So,
are you referring to me?
Maybe. I did say friend, so that's why you had to ask. So Ben, what is your iconic Mariano Rivera card?
I knew one of you were going to go with the 92 Bowman, if not both. So I went with the 2013 Topps update. It's card 313. He's just got such a simple smile. Tip of the cap. Rivera was, like you said, he was a gentleman, right? Rivera was one of the most feared, probably the most feared relief pitcher since Dennis Eckersley, in the late 80s, when he became the Eck. It's just kind of like, all right, I've done my job. I came, I saw, I conquered, I won my 5 World Series. I'm headed to the Hall of Fame. Let me just tip my cap. I'm done. It was just such a simple picture that kind of epitomized his career.
Yeah, and
he didn't need like the stadium thing, like that Jeter got, and a lot of star players get, where they get presence at every stadium the last time they're going to be there. It was just kind of like, all right, almost kind of like my favorite basketball player of all time, Tim Duncan. Same kind of a thing. It was just like, you did your thing and you did it damn well for years, and I'm done. Tip of the cap. It's such a simple picture. I love it.
We were lucky to get one more season because remember he blew out his knee taking shag and fly balls in Kansas City, and he came down and he tore up his knee and was out the rest of that year, and he came back and had one more season.
And for him to have one pitch that nobody could figure out for almost 2 decades.
Well, yeah, you remember he came up as a starter and was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it would have been great to see some of the classic hitters of the 80s, like a Gwynn and a Brett and a Boggs, go up against him just to see if maybe, they could have hit him. Because you had 2 decades worth of great hitters that couldn't.
What about Teddy Ballgame?
Well, you want to play that game, that would have been a fun matchup too.
Right? That would just be fun to see.
Well,
Yankees Sox to go to the World Series. You got Teddy Ballgame up with runner on third, down and run, and you have Mariano on the hill.
It's like the old quote about Rogers Hornsby when pitcher throws a pitch and the umpire calls it a ball, and the pitcher starts coming towards him, and he goes, "That was a strike." And the umpire holds up his hand to the pitcher and goes, "Sorry, but if that was a strike, Mr. Hornsby would have swung."
Right.
It's like, it would be great to go see one pitch. That's all he had. I mean, it was dominant.
It was devastating.
And nobody could figure this out in 2 decades.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, guys, we're going to hit our last segment here in our show tonight, the Iconic Collection, as we're calling it. Last week, what we're doing is every week up into spring training, we're going to reveal our most iconic card for each Major League franchise. And we'll cover one division each week, and one host will do those picks, and then we'll debate them. Last week, Ben had the AL West, and for the Astros, he picked the 89 Topps Biggio. For the Angels, of course, it was the 11 update Trout. For the A's, he picked the 80 Topps Ricky Henderson. For the Mariners, was the 89 Upper Deck Griffey. And for the Rangers, it was the 90 Donruss Nolan Ryan 5,000 Ks card. This week, Steph has the AL Central. Next week, I will take the AL East, and from there, we'll go to NL East, NL Central, NL West, and then the defunct franchises we'll cover in one segment. So, Steph, let's bat it off with the AL Central here. We'll lead off in alphabetical order, so your Twinnies will be last. We have the Chicago White Sox. What is the Chicago White Sox most iconic card in your mind?
Well, give me 1 second because I had it rearranged how I had
sorry.
it. No, you're good. I just need to rearrange a few tabs. I will say that I didn't necessarily feel the need to stick to rookies. So there's that. A few of my choices might be a little odd, but I went with design and subject and photo choices more so. So they may not be quote unquote more iconic than, a major name rookie, but we'll run with them. And I have some 1A, 1B, 1C types. So I will present screen share. I'm not working on my regular computer, so it's a little off today, guys. Here we go.
We've always been a little off, Steph. Let's just be honest.
Well, there's that. So the White Sox, I went with 91 tops, Carlton Fisk. I know he started off as a Red Sox, as it were. But this is such a great photo for 1991 tops.
Yeah,
in a set that's laden with a bunch of really good photos. With Cecil Fielder rounding the third base there, getting ready to try to take out Carlton Fisk. And, who is that in the background?
Looks like Gibby.
Maybe Gibby trying to want him to double back.
Yeah, and then get that big picture of Cecil's big ass. That's awesome. And you feel that Carlton Fisk is tough enough to take Fielder, but good God, that's going to hurt tomorrow.
Right.
So I like it. I always like this card. 91 tops was maybe one of the best photographic sets they put out in a long time.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know honestly if they've topped it since.
The only thing that would come close would be stadium clubs.
Well, yeah, but I'm just talking flagship wise. I mean, good God, these pictures are amazing. Because you remember in the 80s, they always had, it was a lot of spring training photos, a lot of headshots, a lot of, tits up shots, and they weren't always the most exciting action photos.
Right. So my honorable mentions, I went with vintage 1940 play ball shoeless Joe, and 2 infamous middle fingers. You got 94 Top Stadium Club and 91 Upper Deck, making another appearance this week.
Very nice, Frank Thomas. The ones I picked for the White Sox, the 90 tops, no name, Frank Thomas.
Sure.
And then the other one was the 91 Upper Deck, Michael Jordan.
That's interesting. I did not think of that one. Yeah, that's a good call. I mean, if you're putting this up against all of the most recognizable cards per team, I think it's got to be the 90 Thomas, with or without the name.
Sure.
Because it's the same thing, right? Yeah.
Like what you have a Hall of Fame baseball player and one of the biggest air cards, and there's no name on it. Just very, very interesting.
Yeah, if you're putting these up against the greatest cards of other franchises, the Carlton Fisk to me wouldn't go up against, the 52 Mantle, the 80 Henderson, things like that, the 89 Griffey.
We don't know the 52 Mantle's getting picked.
I'm not saying it is, but it's still probably the most recognizable card in the history of baseball.
It could be the 91 Brian Taylor. Like, we don't know.
It could be.
So, who's your card, Ben, for the Sox?
It'd be the 90 Thomas.
Okay.
All
right. So, let's move on to the Cleveland Indians.
So this was a controversial pick in our group DM, but I love the card for what it is, not for what it isn't. It's not a single major name. It's not a group. It's not a rookie. But the Indians were absolutely fearsome at the Jake, and these 4 guys absolutely helped crush that. 2000 tops. They had a I forget what the actual name of the set was, but they grouped fearsome teammates with each other. And this card with Manny Ramirez, Kenny Lofton, Roberto Alomar, and Jim Thome all together on a single card. I'd love to see it signed. But that's my pick for the Indians. And my sub choices, set's already been mentioned today. 92 Bowman, Manny Ramirez.
High school graduation picture.
Absolutely. With the Indians announcer and personal favorite of my wife, Herb Score, 56 tops, rookie.
Yeah, it's a sharp one. Mine from the Indians was the 54 tops Larry Doby. And the reason's really not the card, but the reason why. I mean, he was the first African-American to play in the American League. And that was his first card. So just what that stands for, and the Indians went out and decided to integrate their team. That meant a lot. So,
and that was the one that I just cut off.
Yeah, no, and those are good cards. I've never seen that first one before. And that team, you remember that 97 Indians team? Good Lord. that team was stacked. Those late 90s Indians teams were nasty. They just never had, I think, the right combination of pitching to figure it out to win.
Right.
But they could hit, they could rake. Oh, good Lord.
I'm not sure Hargrove was the right manager either. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's debatable, but I think you're right. I think they needed one more ace beyond like Charles Nagy and stuff. I don't think their pitching staff was deep enough, and you know, they just.
Well, the sad thing is they didn't want to trade Jarrett Wright to get Pedro Martinez. So
Wright did have. I mean, in retrospect, at that time, I mean, we're looking at it completely different now.
Oh, I know he was a big time prospect back then, but just
he was only like 21 at the time. I mean,
yeah.
You know, but they ran into a buzzsaw, a team that was bought and paid for, the Florida Marlins, that was disassembled the next year.
Yep.
You know, that off season.
Benny, what was your pick for the good old Indians?
Steph's selection probably is not iconic. I hadn't seen it either, but it is a fantastic card, which kind of pays ode to the old, you know, 60s Topps cards where you'd have 2 or 3 of the star players on the same card together. And you have 2 Hall of Famers on that card. You know, Tomey and Alomar. You have another one that should be there in Ramirez and Lofton, who at the very least is in the Hall of Very Good. So it is a phenomenal card. If you think about, you know, who are the greatest Yankees of all times? If you said, you know, the greatest Yankee would be tough to decide. The greatest A or Giant. But if you said the greatest Indian of all time, Bob Feller. So I this was probably the only one I disagreed on with Steph would be the 53 Bob Feller.
So the going joke though would be that good luck finding one that's not signed.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, he
but
signed everything.
Yeah, the 53 Topps Feller, I think, is probably the most iconic Indians card in my mind.
Sure.
Nice. All right, we're going to move on to Detroit Rock City, the Detroit Tigers.
So I went back even further than the 40 Playbowl. If my Chromebook will let me hit the right tab. Any guesses? Well, I mean, you guys know, but T206 and any variation, the Ty Cobb Portrait Red in particular. It got a lot of press in the last couple of years with the find. Somebody had 5 or 6 of these, 7 of these?
6, I think it was 6
7.
of them.
6?
Yeah.
I'll look it up here in a second. But you know, it's a shame that he didn't come to Washington, but Ty Cobb means a lot to the Tigers fans, asshole or not, depending on which story you want to believe. And it's just an iconic image. That's the quote-unquote monster set. It's just perfect.
Yeah, that was my pick as well.
My backups, 54K line, understandable, meant a lot to Tigers fans. And then one that has a bit of a personal touch. My mom and my aunt had the hugest crush on Mark Fidrich, living in Dearborn Heights at the time when he was pitching.
I love that card.
It's a great card.
It screams everything about, was it 76?
Yep.
Tops. It's just perfect image. A lot of animation on it, and I like it a lot.
Yeah, it was his rookie card, his Topps All-Star Cup card, and his All-Star card all wrapped into one. You know, that card holds a lot of meaning if you're a Tigers fan, Fidrich fan, and, you know, sad story on his career and how, you know, in a tragic death, but what could have been with that guy. You know, he kind of falls into that Kerry Wood situation or Tony C. And what if injuries or things hadn't happened to certain guys, what their careers could have been.
Absolutely.
Ben, did you have a different one that you were going to go after?
No. I mean, that by far is the most iconic Tigers card. Not to take anything away from the other ones that Steph shared. I took a little bit of crap last week from our friend Nick Vosbrink, because I didn't mention the T206 Eddie Plank as the most iconic A's card. And I didn't go back quite as far. It is by far a very iconic card because of the story behind it and the fact that the printing plate was dropped and only 100 copies were made. You know, I stayed a little more closer to home, but the Ty Cobb by far and away is the best. And what a great era in the 70s. I mean, you had Bill Lee, Mark Fidrich, Doc Ellis all playing at the same time. All those characters.
Dan Ford.
they're all high on different forms of drugs, all of the above at the same time. Jim Bouton before that. I mean, what a great time.
Ellis. Or let alone maybe one for Ben to look up, and I'm sure Tim knows the story of the Yankees wife swappers.
Oh yeah, no, I've read that extensively. We mentioned that as being a great Topps Living set.
Yeah, we did. That's right.
Yeah. We're going to move on to the best team in the AL Central.
Debatable.
Well, the one with the most recent World Series victory.
Yeah, but they went against the Giants. I mean,
no, they lost the Giants. They destroyed the Mets.
But look where the Mets are now.
Yeah, well, look where the Royals are now. The Kansas City Royals. So everybody knows what card I picked.
And everyone knows what card I picked.
Yeah. Well, my card would be any of his. It doesn't matter. They're all iconic to me.
But you can't not go with George Brett. And I had some issues actually coming up with other Royals cards until I consorted.
87 Topps, Bo Jackson.
Until I chatted with Waxtopia and came up with 2 or 3
you
others.
know that he follows me on Twitter, right?
I don't know why.
Because he says I'm a great guy.
You guys might know a little bit about him. He kind of mandates that you know about Bo.
Yep.
And then I went with
86 Topps Traded is a great one.
I went with an iconic card lore card. Any guess, Tim?
What'd you say? A cardboard card?
A card lore card. The hobby lore.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Oh, Alex. Yeah, the famous Alex Gordon card.
06 Topps Alex Gordon.
Yes, the one I'll never have.
Well, you'd be surprised. They come up every now and then, and from what I've seen, they're not that as rabid as they used to be.
Yeah. Well, he didn't have the career. Yeah, he didn't have the career everybody thought he was going to have.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Those are some good ones. I like those. Benjamin, what's your favorite Royals iconic card of all time?
Did I freeze?
With all due respect to the 86 and 87 Bo Jacksons, I mean, 75 Brett is the most iconic for the Royals. For the casual collector, the hardcore collector, I mean, the 75 Brett's the right, and in my opinion, the only selection for that team.
The other card could be, if you want to go different ways, 84 Topps Traded Brett Saberhagen.
Sure.
Because Sabes, in the odd years, Sabes was really good. In the even years, he was not.
I'd go with the 85 Topps Saberhagen because, to me, that was more identifiable than the 84.
Well, see, and
that's just me.
Buddy Biancalana. Yes, sir. Any Buddy Biancalana cards were awesome to me because he had such an awesome last name. And I told my wife, I said, the only reason I married her is because her name's Bianca, and I loved Buddy Biancalana, which was as a kid to be able to say Buddy Biancalana, that was a mouthful.
I was like Pete Cavella, Steve Balboni. There's quite a few cool names.
I used to call him Steve Baloney for a long time.
Yeah, my cousin David would always say, we'd call him Pete I because when we were growing up, we couldn't pronounce his last name, and he'd always come up to me and go, Pete Cavella,
Yeah.
And he kind of knew who he was.
I was so excited when I finally was able to pronounce his last name.
The Royals were, and no offense to Tim, they're just one of those teams that either A, don't have that superstar ultra mega talent, George Brett aside, but there really wasn't much to choose from until I remembered the Alex Gordon and the Bo Jackson. I don't know how he slipped my mind. But
you think that Brett card and you kind of stop, right? And that's just kind of what happens.
I was thinking, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of like this idea that Ben actually thought he gets one good boy point on this topic. You think of Johnny Damon or Carlos Beltran or the busted Royals prospects that went on to be much better elsewhere, but then you forget Bo Jackson and everyone else.
Yeah, Kevin Seitzer, 87 Topps Traded Kevin Seitzer.
See, that's what I loved about this topic, though. Before we get to the final team, is if you're making your list of the 30 most iconic team cards, to me, it's like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and pencil in all the ones personally that I know. Trout, Griffey, Brett. There's probably 4 or 5 that. All right, I'm moving on. I wouldn't even consider Jackson because Brett's more iconic. Period. And that's not to take anything away from either the 86 or 87 Jacksons.
Well, yeah, and then the great Brian Bice pops in and says there's always the 90s score Bo Jackson black and white card.
Sure.
Oh,
and the one that he won't sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably the best A's collector on Twitter at Bice Music. So
he's definitely the nicest.
Yes, he is. He's a nice gentleman. We're going to move on to the final team. Of course, they're in the cellar, the Minnesota Twins.
The ultimate team.
And obviously, there it is. Boom.
84 Foo.
The Fleer update. The FU.
It has a great name. 84 fuck you. It's got a. I don't want to say spring training, but it's got that call up image to it. And for somebody that's meant a lot to the team, no offense to Rod Carew and Harmon Killebrew, but bringing 2 titles to the state, not single-handedly, mind you, it's a team sport, means a lot. And I can't not go with that. I debated going on the Tyson Chicken 83, 82, but the Fleer updates just meant more.
Yeah. Well, mine was the 68 and 69 tops Carew because it's the same image.
67.
Is it 67? I was 68 and 69. They were the same photo.
No. 67's a better year.
Oh.
That's my first backup.
Well, because you have Hank Allen.
Of course.
The great Hank Allen wearing his Washington Senators hat, which is just confusing because they were once anyway. The other one I had, which I thought you might pick, 86 Fleer Mickey Hatcher.
Nope.
That's such a great card.
That and there's a few like Fleer Donruss, like 82, 83 that huge mitt is featured on. But no, I didn't pick Mickey Hatcher. I want 2 rookies for my other 2 picks.
No Herbie, no Herbeck. That's kind of
hurtful. No Herbie.
No, oh God, a bunch of losers here. No Gary Gaetti. No Greg Gagne. No Danny Gladden. No Viola. Scott Erickson. No Tapani.
Justin Morneau prospects on the same card. I actually have the number to 2003, 2002.
No Bradkey.
No Bradkey. Although I'd go with the Fleer and Top Stadium Club.
He was the player that brought Stefan and I together as friends.
And then finally, classic combos: Justin Morneau, Carlos Santana, Johan Santana, and Joe Mauer. The AL MVP, the AL Cy Young Award winner, and the AL batting title winner of 07.
And their World Series rings. Oh,
yeah, they got fucking hosed by goddamn Ben's team. Not salty. Not salty.
There were 2 cards that came to my mind other than the Fleer. Growing up, the 84 Fleer update would not have been the
85 tops.
The 85 tops. I wasn't that familiar with 84 Fleer until I got a lot older. The Ben now says 84 Fleer. Ben growing up would have identified with the 85 tops Puckett. But honestly, a complete side note, I don't know if I've ever told this story. The most iconic Twins card for me is the 1988 tops Jeff Reardon. He's got the big puffy beard. Yep. Growing up, my brother was 3 years old. My dad had a big beard. And so he kept holding that card in his little makeshift, probably Ninja Turtle Velcro wallet. And it was stuffed in there. And, to say that the corners were round is, it was it was closer to a Gem 0 than a Gem 10, let's put it that way. And he'd shove it in there as a little 3-year-old. And I'm like, why do you like that card? He goes, it's my daddy card. And I'm like, your daddy card? And to this day, the 88 tops Reardon holds a special place in the Wilson family lore because, you could not trade that card. I mean, I could have offered anything in the world to my brother for that card, and he loved that card because it looked, if you squint, it looks like my dad, literally, because they're both white men who have big puffy beards.
Once a Cup says the Knobloch score, the rookie, I'm thinking that was iconic as well. And then the 91, I would say
90.
Fleer, Ultra Fleer was cool too.
So Ben's tossing out family stories. I want to say it was second or third grade, so somewhere in 96, 97 or so. Teacher found out I was a huge Twins fan and brought me 3 cards and a pack of 88 tops. The 3 cards were Jeff Reardon, this card. Did my stream die?
No, you're here.
Okay, sorry. The other tab refreshed. The Jeff Reardon, the Greg Gagne, and the Gary Gaetti, as well as a pack of who knows what. But I definitely feel the affinity to the Jeff Reardon for that year.
That's what I love about this hobby is, how much that Jeff Reardon card is worth. I keep doing all these super PCs with different A's cards. I should do an 88 tops Reardon, at least one page. I need one page of 9 for no other reason than because of the family story. And I think that's why we're all so connected is they're not worth anything, but yet they're our favorite cards, and we can share it with all of our friends on Twitter and, locally. We all have stories behind certain cards that would mean absolutely nothing to anybody else. Who wants an 88 Jeff Reardon? I do.
Well, I need at least one. As we end tonight, guys, I think we have our longest show here, running a little long, but hey, no worries. We're going to head out we're going to leave a little bit on a sad note before we step out, but we want to send our condolences to at Golden Fan 81's family. CJ, he was a huge Seattle Seahawks and Golden Tate collector. He passed away yesterday. His fiance hopped on Twitter and sent out a tweet from his account saying he passed away, and he leaves her and 3 kids behind. And he was a good follow on Twitter, and it's just sad. And he followed a lot of us. A lot of you guys that listen to the show. He followed me personally. It's just sad to lose someone, in our small community, and just like that, So, do 2 things tonight or tomorrow: is call a good friend you haven't talked to or seen in a while, even if it's a text. And 2 is just go and give the nearest family member a hug and just tell them what they mean to you, because you just never know, and you never leave anything hanging. Like never go to bed angry.
Can I tell like a 30-second story? I'll make this super, super quick.
Alrighty.
There's a guy that used to do Christian videos, like marriage counseling videos and everything, and he had such a great piece one time. He handed around this old beat up violin and had everybody look at it, and they looked at it in the audience, and then he handed it around again and said, "Look inside," and inside it said Stradivarius, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's a Stradivarius!" And he said, next time your spouse or your kid walks into the room, look at them with that same awe. Because think about that. Our wives they've chosen to spend the rest of their lives with us. Why? We're just a bunch of knucklehead dudes that are a bunch of overgrown 12-year-old boys who collect cardboard. And why can't we look at them in the same way that, you're talking about meeting Mariano Rivera. Do we look at our wife the same way we would look at meeting a celebrity or, We should. It should be reversed.
Well, I look at George Brett the same way I look at my wife, and I really love my wife. But she also looks at JJ Watt the same way she looks at me, so I don't know.
So, and I'll quoting, and I believe it's the Hall of Fame induction speech. Can you all just do me one favor? Don't take life for granted, because tomorrow isn't promised to any one of us. Kirby Puckett.
Which resonates so deep because of the fact that he lost his life at a far too premature age.
Absolutely.
So sorry to get serious on everybody.
No, but it was just one of, we just want to say, so do that. Go out and give a family member a hug. Give a buddy a call. It'll do you good. So remember, we're live every Wednesday here at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and review our show on all platforms: YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. Follow us on Twitter at About the Cards. Follow Ben at Our Trading Cards. Follow Steph at Junkwax Twins. Follow me at Big Shep 79 and my BigShepCards.com, which is a little over a year now old. I'm updating my checklist this week, and so they'll be up to date. A lot of people hooked me up, and so a lot of the checklists are getting lots shorter, which is great, and I appreciate it. But please share your hobby stories and great polls and send your questions our way. And we love to share that with you. And it's the way we get good ideas for the show. And we'll try to keep breaking news for you to keep you in the loop. Because guess what? We're not going to pull any punches here. We're going to tell you how it is. And, I don't think dealers, distributors exclusively want you to know that there is a ton of this 19 Tops product. It's not going to stop me from buying. I'm still going to love and enjoy it. Sure. and cherish it. But it's going to be so much harder on some other people that really rely on this to make their money for the year. Or to sell this product and or have it keep its value for us collectors, and it just kind of it's a little frustrating. But Topps has to do what they have to do to stay in business, and I get that part as well. But it's just kind of like they didn't let anybody know until the last minute.
Sure, and you just hate to see someone completely either A, go out of business, or B, just stop buying because of something like that.
Yeah. And one last thing, if you have anybody you think we should be on the show or you want to be on the show, reach out to us about the cards on Twitter, and we'll definitely talk and get that set up. Like I said, next week we're not going to have an interview, but I do have 4 great ones getting ready to line up and get those on through the month of February with us into March as we get into spring training. I think it's going to be some exciting stuff. So, guys, if we don't have anything else, we're going to head out tonight. I have our longest show of almost 2 hours. God, 8 people are still hanging on watching us live. Thank you. For being true about
it's
the
time
Cards
to wake
fans.
Up.
Yeah. Hey, Ken, I know you're not listening live, buddy, but you're lucky you weren't on tonight because you would not have gotten up tomorrow morning.
And good luck with the wedding.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's got a wedding coming up. Sucker.
See, there's another knucklehead that's getting married. So.
Our condolences go out to Ken. But I'm sure Crystal's a great gal.
She is.
But it's just marriage in general.
Yeah, especially a collector. Well, guys, have a great night, everyone. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Next week.